to this video. And today in this video, we are going to discuss about sum function, average function, and count function. So first of all, as of now, you can see master DB is selected. So we will have to select the sales database. So I will click on the drop down, and now we are going to use sales database. So I will select it from here. And now let's run a simple select statement to see the data that we are going to use. So I will simply write select star from dbo.sales and simply click on execute. So whatever statement is written on this query window as of now will be executed. So I'll simply click on execute, and you can see that this is the table that we have. So we are going to use this table. So now let's say the requirement is that you have to find out the sum of the quantity column. Let's say you have to find out the sum of the quantity column. So we can write a simple select statement in this way. We can write select sum. So sum function we are using quantity. And let's give this column an alias name. So we can write it in square brackets. And we can write total quantity. And then from dbo.sales. If I will select the statement written in line number 5, shift up arrow key, and if I'll execute it, control E. So you can see that the total quantity sold is equal to 84. So in that way, we can use sum function. Let's say we have to show the sum of the quantity column, and we also need to show the sum of the total amount column. So if I will execute the statement written in line number 3 again, so you will see that this is the table. Now the ask is that we have to find out the total of the quantity column and total amount column both. So we can write select sum of quantity, close the bracket, comma, and we have to provide an alias name as well. So in the square brackets, we can write total quantity, and then comma sum of total amount column. So we can write total amount, close the bracket, and provide an alias name. So we can write, let's say, sum of amount from dbo.sales. Now I will select the statement written in line number 7 and I will execute it. So you can see that the output now shows us the sum of the quantity column and the sum of the amount column as well. Right. So we can use sum function in this way. And basically, this function is used to find out the sum of the values in a numerical column, right? Now, similarly, the way we have used sum function, we have average function, and we can use average function as well. So let's say, let's first of all execute this statement written in line number 3 to see the data set again. So I'll select this statement, that is select star from DBO sales, and will then execute it from here. And now let's say we want to find out the average as well for quantity column and the total amount column as well. So first of all, I can write select AVG bracket open and quantity. Let's say first of all, we want to find out the average quantity only. So we can write select AVG quantity. In these square brackets, we can provide an alias name. So we can write average quantity from dbo.sales. So select the statement written in line number 9 and press Ctrl E to execute it. So the average quantity comes out to be equal to 8. Now let's say we need to find out the average quantity and we need to find out the average of the total amount column as well. So again, in line number 11, I can write select AVG quantity. And let's provide an alias name. So in these square brackets, we can write AVG quantity, let's say. You can provide any name according to your convenience, comma. We also have to find the average of, so we can write AVG inside the bracket, total amount column. So we will write the name of total amount column and then we will provide an alias in these square brackets. So we will write AVG amount from dbo.sales. Now let's select the statement written in line number 11 and let's execute it. So you will see that now it shows the average quantity sold and average amount as well. Now let's execute the simple select statement again to see the data that we have. So we can write select star from dbo.sales. And I'll select the part written in line number 13 and will execute it. So now let's say the requirement given to you is that you need to find out the sum of the quantity, average of the quantity, sum of total amount, and average of total amount for each distinct product ID, right? So we have 3 distinct product IDs. We have product ID 1, then we have product ID 2, and then we have product ID 3. So I will write the question here. So double hyphen, because it will be treated as a comment. So we want it to be treated as a comment because we are writing the question in general English. So it will obviously not be the SQL syntax, right? So we will write that in the output we want the sum of quantity, sum of total amount, we want average of quantity, and we want average of total amount for each distinct product. So we can achieve or fulfill this requirement by using the group by clause. So let's see how we can write the SQL code. So first of all, I'll scroll down. All right. And we will reduce the size of this output section a little bit. And we will remove the object explorer. All right. And now let's write select. First of all, let's write select star, because then IntelliSense will show us the various column names that we may choose from. So first of all, we will write select star from dbo.sales. And I will move this from dbo sales to the next line. And now in place of star, we will press enter before the star and we will move it to the next line as well. Now in place of star, we will first of all write product ID. The moment you will type 2-3 characters, IntelliSense will show you that these are the possible options that you can choose from. So product ID is the column name, comma, enter, come to the next line. And since now we want sum of quantity and total amount columns, so we can write sum, bracket open, bracket close, and inside the bracket we can write quantities. So the moment you will type 2-3 characters, it will show you the name of the column. Then after that, let's use as keyword, although using the as keyword is optional, but now we will be providing an alias name to the sum quantity column. So inside the square bracket, we can write total quantity. Then comma, press enter, come to next line. Now again, we had to find out the sum of the total amount column as well. So bracket open, bracket close. Inside the bracket, we can write total amount. Select it. Let's use the as keyword. Inside the square brackets, we can provide an alias name and we can write sum of amount. You can give any name according to your convenience, right? Comma, press enter, come to next line. Now we had to tell the average as well. So we will use AVG, that is average function for that, bracket open, bracket close, and we will write quantity. Now let's not use as keyword here and simply provide the alias names in square brackets. So we can write average quantity sold, then comma, come to next line, AVG, bracket open, bracket close, total amount, and in these square brackets, we can write average amount. And that's all, right? Now, the point is that if we will execute this statement that we have written so far, it will throw an error, right? Let's select this statement and let's execute it. So SQL Server shows an error. It says that DBO sales product ID. It means product ID column from the table DBO sales. Product ID column from the DBO sales table is invalid in the select list because it is not contained in either an aggregate function or the group by clause, right? So the point is that if you will see the select statement, so there are various columns which have been used. So we have product ID, then we have quantity, then we have total amount, then here also we have quantity, here also we have total amount. But you will see that for quantity column and total amount column, aggregations are used. Sum function is used or average function is used. But for the product ID column, no such aggregation is used and it is present in the select statement. So what should we do? We will have to include this product ID column in the group by clause. So I'll press enter and I'll write group by product ID. It will basically create different groups for each one of the distinct product ID, and then for each one of the distinct product ID, sum of quantity, sum of total amount, average quantity, and average total amount will be shown. So if we will now execute this select statement that is written from line number 17 to 24, if we will select it and if we will click on execute, you will see that this is the output. So for each distinct product, we have total quantity, and that is the basically it represents the sum of quantity, and then we have sum of amount. After that, we have average quantity, and then we have average amount. So in that way, we can use group by clause as well along with these functions. Also, there is one more point that you should note, that in the previous videos we have discussed about the minimum and maximum function, min and max function, and there we discussed that if there are null values present or available in a column, so those are neglected by min and max functions. Similarly, if there are numerical columns on which we are using sum or average function, so if there are null values present in that column, then those null values will be ignored by sum function and by average function as well. So that is also one point that you have to keep in mind, right? And let's take one more example to understand the group by clause and the sum and average, right? So what we will do, let's again simply run the simple select statement that we have on this table. So we can write select star from dbo.sales, and let's select this statement written in line 26 and let's execute it. So this is the data. Now let's say the requirement is that we want that total quantity, total amount, and your average quantity and average amount should be shown for each distinct product ID and store ID, right? So now in this case, we have to show all the aggregated values for each distinct product and store ID as well. So in this case, how we can write the select statement, let's see. So we have to tell the total amount, or you can say sum of quantity. We need to tell sum of amount. We need to show average of quantity and average of amount for distinct values or distinct combinations, you can say, of your product ID and store ID, right? So we can write this simple select statement. So first of all, let's scroll down and we can write select, press enter, come to next line, sum of bracket open, bracket close, quantity. Then after the bracket closes, comma, sum of total amount, then comma, average of quantity, then comma, average of total amount, then comma, we can provide the names of the other two columns of which the distinct combinations are required. So we can write product ID, comma, store ID from store ID, comma, enter from dbo.sales, and then in the group by clause, in the group by clause, we will have to provide the names of product ID and store ID column. So we can write product ID, comma, store ID. So why it was required to write the name of product ID and store ID column in the group by clause? Because in the select statement, you can see that there are aggregations being used on quantity column, total amount column, right? So that's why it was not required to use these functions, these columns in the group by clause. But if you will talk about the product ID and store ID column, you will see that no such aggregation is being used on them, right? So, and they are appearing in the select statement. So they should be there in the group by clause, because the distinct combinations for each distinct combination of product ID and store ID, all these values will be shown. All these four values will be shown, right? So they should be present in the group by clause. So if I will now select the statement written from line 29 to 37, and if I'll execute it, then you can see that for each product ID and each store ID, we have certain columns, and we have basically all these four columns. But since we have not provided the aliases, so it's becoming confusing for us to understand this. So what we can do, we can simply provide aliases. So for some quantity in these square brackets, before the comma, in line number 30, just write total quantity. Then for some total amount in these square brackets, we can write sum of amount. Then for average quantity in these square brackets, we can write average, let's say average of quantity. And then in line 33 in square brackets, we can write average of amount. If we will now execute the statement written from line 28 to 37, you can select line 28 as well, because that's a comment, so it will not impact the output of the select statement. So select this part and simply click on execute. So you can now see that different columns are having suitable names, so it will become easier for us to identify them. And let's say you want product ID and store ID should be present in the beginning, so you can move them to beginning. So you can simply copy the line 34 and 35, Control X, and you can simply paste it here just after the select statement. So press enter, Control V, and after store ID, we will have to write a comma. So comma has to be there. And from line 35, we will remove this comma. So now the syntax looks fine. If we will now execute the select statement, so you will see that this is the output. So if you want to understand this data, so you can understand it in this way, that for product ID equal to 1 and store ID equal to 1, the total quantity sold was 16, total sum of amount was 320, average quantity sold was 8, and average of amount was 160. Similarly, for product 2, that was sold from store ID 1 only. The total quantity is equal to 14, sum of amount is 420, average quantity sold is 7, and average amount is 210. Similarly, for each distinct product ID and store ID combination, these four numerical quantities are being represented. That is total quantity, sum of amount, average of quantity, and average of amount. Right? So in that way, we can use sum function and average function, and that's how we can use them along with the group by clause. Now let's discuss about the count function as well. So again, I will write simple select statement to understand the data that we have, to see the data that we have. So we can simply write select star from dbo.sales, and let's select the statement written in line number 39 and let's execute it. So you can see that this is the data that we have, right? Now let's say you were told that you need to count different records from this table. So we can simply write select we can use count function. This is also an aggregate function. So count star, we can write select count star from dbo.sales. So this statement that is written in line 41, if we will select this statement and will execute it, so it will tell you that there are a total of 10 records in this particular table. Now we forgot to provide the alias name. So just before the from keyword, we can provide the alias name in the square brackets. So let's name it as number of rows. Fine. So I will now select the statement written in line 41 and will then execute it. So now you can see number of rows are equal to 10. Now let's execute the select statement written in line 39 once again. So I'll just select it and will execute it. So you can see that this is the data that we have, right? And if you will use count function, and inside the count function, if you will write the name of a column in which there are null values, so it will not count the null values, right? If you will write count star, then if null values are present in any one of the columns, SQL Server will count all the records. Then there is no problem. But if inside the count function, if you will specify or mention the name of a given column, then in that column, if null values exist, then those null values will not be counted by this count function. So let's take an example to understand that. First of all, let's write select count. And inside this function, let's write the name of payment method column. So we can write payment method column. So select count of payment method. Let's name it as number of records. You can provide any name according to your convenience, and we can write from dbo.sales. If I will now execute the statement written in line 43, so as of now, you can see that there are a total of 10 records. But if I will execute the statement written in line 43, so you will see that the total count is coming out to be 8, because in payment method column, there are 2 such values which are null values. That's why. If I will again execute the simple select statement written in line number 39, if I'll select it and if I'll execute this, so this is the table that we have. In payment method column, you can see that we have 2 null values. So SQL Server didn't count it when we specified the name of payment method column. Also, we can use, if we want to count the distinct values in a column, so for that purpose, we can use distinct with count function. So how we can do that? Let's say we are interested in counting the distinct product IDs in our data set. So what we can do, we can simply write select count bracket open distinct product ID, and let's provide it an alias name. So in these square brackets, we can write distinct products from dbo.sales. So let's select the statement written in line number 45 and let's execute it. So since we saw that there are a total of 3 distinct products, that is product ID 1, product ID 2 and product ID 3. That's why this count is coming out to be 3. So we can always use distinct along with count to tell about the distinct values occurring in a given column. If we will use this count distinct on payment method column, but before that, again, we should view the data. So let's execute this statement written in line 39. So let's select it and let's click on execute. So this is the data that we have. Let's say we use this count distinct on payment method column, and then let's see what is the output. So we can always write select count distinct payment method from dbo.sales. So if we will now execute the statement written in line number 47, we'll select it and execute it. So you can see that the total distinct count is coming out to be 3 in that column, and obviously null values were ignored. Now we want to make sure that null values were ignored and only then the count is coming out to be 3, right? So what we will do, first of all, let's provide an alias name to this count distinct payment method column. So in the square brackets, we can simply write, let's give it any name. So let's keep it distinct pay mode. And since we are also interested in knowing about that, that we want to know about the name of each distinct category, we want to see that as well. So before writing this count distinct payment method, we can write the name of payment method column. So we can write payment method. And since you can see that in the select statement, we have a column on which no aggregation is applied, while there is a column on which aggregation is being applied, count is being used here. So that is also an aggregate function. So in the group by clause, we will have to mention, in the group by clause, we will have to mention this column, that is payment method, because in the select statement, no aggregation is being used on it. So Control V. Now, if we will execute the statement written in line 47 and 48, so you will see that for null, the count is coming out to be 0, right? Although null is a different value that exists, but this count distinct payment function didn't count it. That's why 0 is being shown here as the count, right? Count function ignored the null, right? While it does exist there. And for each one of the different categories, that is cash, credit card, and debit card, the count is 1, because we just wanted to know about the distinct categories. Let's say you do not want to know about the distinct count, but you simply want to know about the count. So I will copy the statement written in line 47 and 48, Control C, and I'll press enter twice, and I'll come to line 50, Control V, and I'll remove this distinct before payment. And I will name this as alias name should be given to it as pay mode, let's say. So now if we will execute the statement written in line 50 and 51, so you see still null is being ignored by the count function, because inside the count function, you have specified the name of the column, and in this column, null values are there. That's why it is ignoring it. And that's why the count is being shown to you for null as 0. While if you'll talk about cash, so there are a total of 3 records where cash appears. So that's why 3 is written there. For credit card, there are 4 such records where credit card is written. That's why 4 is being shown to you as the count. If I'll talk about the debit card, so for debit card, you can see that only there was 1 record in which debit card appeared. So that's why the count is being shown to you as 1. So in that way, we can use count function. Now let's say in place of payment method, we want to write count star. In place of count payment method, we write count star, and then let's see what happens. So again, I will copy the select statement written in line number 50 and 51, and I'll press enter twice. I'll come to line number 53, and in place of count payment method, let's say I want to write count star. And now let's see what is the output. So if I select the statement written in line 53 and 54, and if I'll execute it, so you can see that now for null, the count is being shown to you as 2. So count, basically it counted the rows, and it's telling you that there are 2 such rows where for payment method equal to null, we have 2 such rows for payment method equal to null, right? So the count is shown to you as 2 here, right? Cash, same 3, then credit card as 4, and debit card as 1. In fact, this is right, but we can use different columns as well in the count function, and we can use count star as well depending upon our needs, right? So in that way, we can use count function. This is also an aggregate function, and these functions that we have discussed, they ignore the null values if these if the column containing the null values is specified inside the function, right? Maybe your min function, max function, count function, average function, and sum function, right? So I hope this video was helpful in explaining to you that how group by clause can be used. We will be taking more questions on group by clause, and it was also helpful in explaining it to you that how different functions, aggregate functions, can be used in Microsoft SQL Server. So I hope this video was helpful. We'll meet in the next session. Till then, thank you. Bye-bye.